Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this SAIF webinar. As many of you know, SAIF Digital launched for SAIF members, I think now 3 years ago, and the programme was designed to assist members to engage with digital marketing, and it was specialised towards independent funeral directors. We started out looking at websites, we looked at SEO, we looked at social media, and we continue to do so through the SAIF Digital Facebook group. But today we're addressing a really important topic, and that's Google Ads or pay-per-click. And I'm delighted to welcome Laura and Jen from My Business Angels, who have recently become SAIF Associate members. Welcome to you both. And you're going to take us through your presentation today and cover, I've seen the presentation, it's absolutely fantastic, and I have no doubt that members will want to see it again. It will be made available on the SAIF Digital Facebook page afterwards. And if we get an opportunity, at the end, we'll certainly be taking some questions. So Laura and Jen, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Declan. So good afternoon, everybody. And thanks a lot for joining us. You may have got our video earlier this week, sort of welcoming you to our webinar. So to set the scene, we're a pretty enthusiastic bunch over here. So excuse us if we're a bit super excited, but we've got loads of really interesting insights and knowledge to share today. So I hope you've got your cup of coffee charged. Mine's actually a peppermint tea. I had too much coffee already today. But just a real quick story, actually. This morning, I was at the gym working hard. It was cold, and to be honest, I'd be rather curled up in my bed. But it's really important to focus on my health, and wanted to start the year strong. So as I was pounding the ski machine and those horrible burpees and doing horrible things in the gym, I was actually thinking about you guys and our session today. And really, it reminded me of how important it is to continually sharpen our tools, not just personally, but also professionally. So that's really what today is about. It's giving you the tools to help you and to help improve your business and get you into being seen by more people in the community so you can help more people. Now, today we're a team duo. There's Jen and myself, and Jen heads up our business partnership. Some of you, I think, have already spoken to our lovely Jen. She's a bit of a powerhouse when it comes to businesses like yours and helping local businesses turn Google Ads into a tool that actually works for them, not the other way around. And that's what we see many people fall foul of. So she really understands the challenges that you guys are facing and is here to guide you today and help you take your marketing to sort of the next level. So she'll be covering the content this afternoon, and then I'll join you at the end of the presentation. So I know that you guys are super busy. Your time is absolutely precious. So we really value you coming to the webinar today. So our plan is that you go away with an action item. So if you're doing Google Ads, then you'll learn things to actually tweak your campaigns. And if you're not doing Google Ads, it's going to help you kind of really make you think about whether that could be a viable option for your business. So today's session is focused on learning and improving, like the reps that I was doing in the gym today earlier. But before we dive into those three key areas, then I just wanted to take a moment to share something important, that at the end of this session, there's an opportunity for you to book a session with Jen. It's a free 30-minute digital review with her. And it's a chance for you to focus on your business to see whether Google Ads can really help you reach more families in the local area. So no techie jargon, that's not what we're about. It's really kind of practical, straightforward advice. So I'll put a link in a little bit, and then hopefully you can share some time with Jen, but her diary will be getting busy, so jump in there quickly. So YBA, who are we? We're your business angels. So why should you listen to us? Well, we've been trusted by local businesses for over 10 years now. It's my business. I grew it on the basis that I helped my brother's computer repairs business. And through that learning, we're now in the top 3% of agencies for Google. And we're really primed, ready to help funeral directors with the tools and the confidence so that you can thrive more in your local area. And our partnership with SAIF reflects that commitment to helping you guys. So we're here to give up our time and help you progress further for your business. So hands up, it would be really good before we get into the details to do a quick poll on how, if you're doing Google ads or not. So it would be really helpful in the chat, just pop a little 1 if you're doing Google ads currently for your business, or pop a little 2 in there into the chat, just so we can get a feel, and I'll have a quick look through there, but just so we can have a feel for how many people are actually doing Google ads and who aren't. But whatever your journey is, don't worry. We're here to help to make sure that you today leave with something practical that will really, really help you. So the quote I would really like to share, which you may know, Bananarama. I don't know if you remember Bananarama, but it ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it that gets results. And it's so true in many aspects of life, but clearly our passion is with digital marketing. So you might be there thinking from your perspective that the big players out there are kind of unbeatable. You know, they spend huge amounts of budget after all. That's what we understand. But the truth is, it's a little secret they don't want you to know, is it's not about having the biggest budget. It's about what you do with it and that you do it in the right way. And so without further ado, that's what exactly Jen is going to share with you today. So let me hand over to Jen and she will walk you through lots of great insights, lots of great knowledge so that you can go away today with a little action pack of things to help your business. Over to you, Jen.
Perfect. Thanks, Laura. So just looking in the chat, it looks like we've got a real mix today, possibly even half and half of people who have done Google ads before and people who haven't. So hopefully there's something in here for everyone that you can take away and go and use for your own business. But if you do have any questions as I'm talking, as we go through, please do write them in the chat. We'll try and keep an eye on it, or if we don't manage to answer them as we go, then we'll have a session at the end. So if anything pops into your head, feel free to write it down. And we can come back to it. But perfect. So today I'm going to, first of all, take a look at the challenge for funeral directors on Google Ads. So the way that we like to look at this is a bit of a David and Goliath scenario. So hopefully most of you are familiar with the story, but if anyone isn't, we've got Goliath on the right-hand side, who is a giant, always winning fights, always sort of bragging about how no one can beat him. And we've got David on the left, who's a young shepherd boy who is the only person willing to take Goliath on. But instead of sort of fighting in a traditional way with swords, David approached things differently. So he used a slingshot to take down Goliath and then cut off his head with his own sword. So slightly gruesome, but why is that relevant for you? So when we're talking today, we imagine Goliath as the big boys in funerals. So people like Co-op, people like Dignity, people like Pure Cremation. So as Laura said, we know they've got big budgets. We know they're doing lots of things across different digital channels. So you might have seen Pure Cremation's TV ads. There's things like Facebook ads and also Google ads as well. But where we see the SAIF members are the independents like you guys. So you're the Davids. And what we want to go through today is how can we use Google ads in a clever way and help us to compete with these Goliaths in a way that kind of works best for us. So first of all, we want to look at the arena where we should be trying to even compete with Goliath. So we think that Google ads is a good place to start, because we know that there's families on Google who are searching for your services. So we can see there are 12,000 searches for the term funeral directors near me on Google every single month. And that's just for that phrase specifically. So there will be other searches as well. And I mean, before, I suppose, the last 20, 30 years, you would have had people going to the yellow pages to find local businesses in their local area. But we really have seen in the last sort of 20 years, more and more people are going onto Google to start that initial search. So we want to make sure we're there when someone is looking for your services. And we can see overall for broader terms around funerals in the UK as a whole, there's around 105,600 searches in the UK for funeral related terms, and a lot of these happen on mobile. And I don't think we have the stats yet in the UK, but in the US, there was a study done that mentioned 36% of families researching funeral services conducted research online before booking. So if we assume it's close to that for the UK, it could be around 30%, or even if it's half of that, 15%. if you're not sort of having a strong online presence, and I think this is what Dec has been talking to you all about with SAIF Digital, you're missing out on the potential opportunity to connect with local families and start having those conversations. So just really important to be there. So yeah, why is that relevant to you? It's all about being visible when it matters most. So when someone has lost a loved one, it's a distressing time. They may even be looking for your services from the hospital. It's your job to make sure local families can find you quickly and easily and get that support that they need. So how can we actually do this on Google Ads? So there's a number of different sort of tools within Google Ads that we can use. So I'm going to go through a couple of different ones today. But the first one is looking at specific locations to target. So the Goliaths are more likely to be targeting the whole of the UK. A lot of them operate nationally, but you can actually add specific area postcodes onto the back end of Google, or you can target a specific radius around your own funeral home. So that helps us to use our budget that we do have effectively and only show in those areas where we know local families are and in the sort of areas that you can service. So we can exclude anyone outside of those specific areas, and we can also make sure that we show the people searching a specific message based on your location. So for example, if it's Laura searching and we know she's in Harpenden, we can show her an ad that says local funeral directors in Harpenden, and that's really going to be relevant to her when she's searching. Another thing that we can look at is the times of day when searches on Google are happening and when families are actually looking for you. So what you can see on the slide here is a report that we've run for the whole of the UK, and it's showing you how many ads appeared on Google when people were searching for funeral director near me. So it shows the specific times of day along the top and the days of week down the left-hand side. And where you've got the darker blue circles, that's indicating that more ads are being shown at that time and on that day. And where you've got the lighter blue circles, there's fewer ads being shown. So from this data, we can see that the highest number of ads are being shown over the weekend. So we could see on our end when we ran this report, there were 217 ads being shown on Saturdays and Sundays. And we can see here on the slide, the dark blue, they're mostly being shown on Saturdays afternoon. And that's compared to 248 ads over the other 5 days of the week. So we can use these insights to help us to make clever decisions on when and at what times of day we show ads. So yeah, why does that matter? So if we're being like David, we're approaching things in a clever way. We want to show ads at the specific times of day when there's fewer other people serving their ads. And on this report, it looks like that's on weekdays between 2 p.m. and 12 p.m. So we still want to be able to show when local families are trying to find you, but using these insights can help us do it in a way where we're not kind of wasting money and showing at the most competitive times of day. So yeah, definitely something that we can look at. Also in this report, it shows us the top advertisers appearing on Google. So we could see there were 268 advertisers appearing. 258 advertisers appearing for funeral directors near me. And you can see that Farewell and Co-op are at the top of that graph on the screen. So between Farewell and Co-op, they accounted for 24% of the total ads being shown on Google. Having said that, if you go, I think it's around number 8 in the list, you can see there's KM Funerals, which is an independent funeral director, which looks like they're based in Northampton, and they actually appeared for 388 of those searches. So it just goes to show that it is possible to run ads as an independent, and you can be appearing against some of those bigger names, but it doesn't have to cost the earth. And this is just, this is specifically for Google ads. So this is the paid ads that you see. You type something into Google, you see that little sponsored symbol at the top. So it's just the ads. It's not looking at the organic traffic and the ads traffic, which I think someone asked. So what is it that we can do to beat the ads that are higher up the list and get you appearing higher up? What we tend to find is a lot of the bigger companies are writing ads that are tailored to Google rather than writing ads for their customers. So you can see in some of these examples on the right-hand side, so we've got Fairwill is talking about cost specifically in the ad copy. They're actually including some information like prices from. Co-op does a slightly better job, but there's still improvements that can be made. So I think the key thing here is some of the bigger players are talking about themselves, making the ads about themselves rather than the person that they're trying to help. So what might this look like in practice? We've just got an example for you. So we're suggesting you focus ads on the families you're trying to help. So in this example, we've got a made-up business, YBA Funerals, and you can see on the left-hand side, I've got some little highlights in the orange boxes. So at the top, we've got a phone number in the ad. So this allows potential families to easily get in touch with you. They know exactly what number they need to call if they're looking for your services. We've got the location that someone is searching for in the ad headline. We've got Google My Business reviews pulling into the ads. So I know this is something that Dec has been working with you all on recently and kind of shouting about the benefits of Google My Business reviews. So definitely use them. Connect to Google My Business with Google Ads, and you can also, that can help pull your ratings into your ads. We can also include some unique things about the business. So that's kind of on the call outs just a bit lower. So things like family run, in business for X number of years. And we can add location extensions. So that helps to show a customer exactly where you're based and where they can find you if they're in the local area. And the other thing about this ad copy is it's all about the language being used throughout. So it's terms like compassionate, trusted, supporting, and helping families in their time of need. Oh. Perfect. So so why do we think some of the bigger players are kind of focusing on price so much? So we can see from the SAIF cost of funerals report from 2024 that direct cremations are increasing. You can see they've grown to around 20%, and I imagine that trend will continue from the members of SAIF I've spoken to. That's definitely something that they're seeing in their businesses. On top of that, we know there is a cost of living crisis at the moment in the UK. Families are tightening their purse strings. So there are going to be a section of families that are more focused on price. And when we look at the searches happening on Google that are triggering the ads to show, so that's what's showing in the table on the left-hand side, we can see that there are people out there who are searching for cheapest funeral directors. And we also see there's people searching for those sort of big household names like Co-op. But you'll also notice the third search term in that list is people searching for best. And there's also searches for independent funeral directors. So although, yes, there's a cost of living crisis, yes, direct cremation is growing, not everyone is going to be focusing on price. There are people who do want that quality of service, and they just want someone who can take them through a really difficult time that they're having to go through in their lives. So those are the people that we're trying to focus on more. So while you've got the Goliaths and the Co-ops and the Dignities who might be going for quantity, so they're trying to hit anyone and everyone in the UK, they've got big budgets, they're going to continue to do that. What we want to do is focus on the quality. So people who are looking for a great quality of service, people who have lived in the local area for a long time, who maybe they need their hand holding through this whole process, but who will really appreciate that kind of quality of service that an independent funeral director can actually provide for them. So what does all this mean for you? So I would say, that the messaging here is really key. So it's all about remembering it's a family that's in a time of need. We want to be appealing to them when they need support. So making sure that we craft that ad copy really carefully and we make it about them and not about us is really important. The second thing is that although I've obviously spoken today so far about supporting families in a time of need, we do understand you are still running a business and it does still have to be cost effective for you to run something like pay-per-click, because you do pay every time someone clicks on your ad. So we mustn't sort of forget that. And when we're thinking about these things and how we run Google Ads, we still want to bear that in mind, that it's keeping the cost down and it's cost effective. So just because Co-op and Dignity are spending a lot on their ads, it doesn't mean that you have to in order to be effective. You can still appear at the top of the results page by doing some of the things we talked about. So looking at the locations, looking at the times of day, showing ads to people above a certain age. The aim is to find those pockets of people who want that quality of service and who are really, really relevant and looking now for your services. And that's who we want to show for. So for those of you who aren't already running Google Ads, or for those of you who are sitting there thinking, okay, maybe that sounds good, but I don't really know how it all works, I'll go into a bit more detail on that for you now. So in order for an ad to show on Google, there's quite a lot of things that actually happen in the background, and this all happens in sort of less than a second. So the first step is the average person. So it could be like my mum, for example. You're going to type something into Google like funeral director and me, and Google in less than a second will scan all of the advertisers bidding on the keywords that match to that search. So all of these keywords get entered into an auction, and that's an auction to decide whether they should appear on the search results page or not. So Google looks at two things. It looks at your ad rank and it looks at your quality score to determine which ads are eligible to show. So if Google's looked at all these things on the back end and it thinks your ad is relevant to what someone's typed in, and you've also got a high enough bid, then Google will show your ad on the search results page. And all of those 5 steps happen every time you type something into Google and hit that enter bar, and it all happens in less than a second. So it's really sophisticated stuff. But you only pay when someone goes onto your website through clicking on an ad. So just for your ad to appear in that list, there is no charge. If they click on a sponsored listing and go through your ad to your website, that's when you pay for a click on your ad. So what that looks like is, I'm sure you've all seen many times on the left-hand side, but when you've got those little sponsored symbols that appear above the ads, every time that listing is clicked on, that is a Google PPC ad, and the business who is showing that ad is paying for each click that you do on that ad and go through to the website. So this is slightly different to the organic SEO that Dec was talking about at the beginning. So what you'll often see is you'll type in a search, you'll get those sponsored ads at the top, and underneath you will get a list of organic ads. So if you click through an organic ad or an organic listing, you don't pay to get traffic to your website. If you click on a PPC ad, which appears at the top, you will pay to go across to your website. So that is the slight difference there in the two. And then in order for Google Ads to work effectively, there are around 5 main things we need. So the first really important thing is conversion tracking. So a conversion is any valuable action a user takes on your website. So for most of you, that's likely going to be when someone picks up the phone and calls you to discuss funeral arrangements that they want to book. It could also be someone submitting an inquiry form for some of your websites, or someone contacting you over email. But it's really, really important that this is set up in the beginning so we know what valuable actions a user is taking, so we can know if you're being seen by the right people. And by the right people, I mean someone local who is actively looking for funeral director services. So that's the first thing. The second thing is making sure we have the right targeting. So by this, I mean the search term that a user is looking for when they look for your services. I also mean targeting the right location, so around your funeral home, targeting the right times of day, and targeting the right sort of ages and demographics. So we don't want to waste your hard-earned money on someone who's maybe an 18-year-old who's never going to be able to afford to buy a funeral. So those things are really important to get right. The third thing is the right messaging. So making sure when someone sees you in their time of need, they get an appropriate message. It's coming from a place of support and care, and they have all the information that they need to then go ahead and get in touch with you. The fourth thing is some budget. So I'm not going to tell you you need to remortgage your house in order to run Google Ads, but you do need a small amount of budget that is set aside to pay for the ads in order to get Google to work well for you. And the final thing is just a bit of time. So Google Ads accounts do need some time to gather data so we can work out what is working and what is not working. And I'm sure for those of you who are running Google Ads or have accounts already, you've probably experienced this when you set up the account for the first time. You have to get that conversion tracking in place, and it can take a bit of time for the system to learn. So it might take a couple of months in order to really see the performance start to pick up, in order to work out what's working well, what do we need to dial up, or what isn't working, and what do we need to dial down. So just to make you all aware, if it is something that you haven't done before, but you're thinking of doing it, there can be a little bit of a period of learning at the beginning. So yeah, those are the 5 main things to make it work. But now I will hand back over to Laura, who can share how this has worked well for some of our clients.
Thanks, Jen. I know that there's a lot to take in there, guys. So I know you've got some questions in the chat. Do put some questions in, and we'll be able to to answer some of those questions. So yeah, just wanted to give you a quick example without sort of naming names. This particular one that's generated 40 to 50 inquiries sounds a lot, and you might think, oh my gosh, we couldn't handle anything like that. This particular business is based in a large town, so it's very much dependent by the population in your local area, i.e. how many people are turning to Google in their hour of need, needing help. You're very much governed by how many people are searching, and also by how many competitors there are in the local area. So this particular client was spending around about £1,000 per month on their advertising spend and generating in the region of around sort of £35 an inquiry. And the thing is that one of the key things is if you're not advertising, then the people that are searching and do look at the top of Google will only be able to go to your competitors. So it's worth kind of considering that. But yeah, it is very much governed by the competition in the area, how many people are advertising, and also really how effective your campaigns are set up. So like Jen was saying about having the conversion tracking set up accurately so that you can see what is working in your Google Ads account and think, okay, we can, that bit is working, this bit isn't making the phone ring or isn't making people fill out the form to inquire. So we want to take those things away and work on these particular areas of the campaign that is working. So having the conversion tracking set up is hugely valuable. And then the structure of your campaigns as well. So things like the right keywords that you're advertising on, not having them too broad and having them quite specific. So including your local area name in there as well. So all of these sorts of things can impact the results. But this particular company came to us because they've been working with another agency and hadn't got the visibility of the numbers and really didn't know if it was working or not. So we went in, actively changed the tracking because we couldn't see which particular bit was working accurately. And then we were able to adjust the campaigns and quite quickly the results really improved. So we're very happy with the outcomes of that. So it's just a quick example to give you there. But like I say, with Google Ads, I think it's very much about this Bananarama, and doing it in a way that is going to help your business rather than hinder your business or think, oh, this is like a drain on our resources. So hopefully from today, Jen's been able to identify various areas to look and to tweak for your campaigns. And if you're not doing Google Ads, then it gives you more visibility onto the opportunity, because with the David and Goliath scenario, it doesn't mean that you have to spend thousands of pounds on the campaigns. It's about having it set up right and looking at it on a local perspective, where potentially the Goliaths of this world, you know, can't appeal in that sort of family setting in the local area. So hopefully that really helps you to open opportunities for you. And yeah, like I said at the beginning, I'll put a link in the chat in a second, but by all means, we can, if you're doing Google Ads, we can spend some time reviewing your particular campaigns deep into your Google Ads account, have a look at it and tell you, okay, this is where you're potentially wasting ad spend. This is an opportunity for you. Or if you're not doing Google Ads, then we can review that too. But it's a 30-minute structured call with Jen to help you. So thank you very much. I will, let's go through Jen, you've probably had a quick look while I was scanning, while I was walking through those slides, but do you want to look through the questions?
Yeah, so there are quite a few on here. As we go, if anyone does have any more, do keep on continuing to write them in the chat, but I'll do my best to answer what I can. So the first question I saw in there was from Peta, saying, can we gain insights when families are most likely to be searching? So the best thing I would say to do is, if you're already running Google Ads, is to look at your own account data. So within the accounts, you should be able to click into a campaign and see times of day, and you will actually get a full report broken down by hour of day and by day of week, and you can see in that when your ads are actually getting clicks, and more importantly, when your ads are actually showing to people who are then taking a valuable action, so are ringing you up, or maybe they're filling in an inquiry form. So I would say it's always best to look at your own data. We do have a piece of software that we use, which we use to run the report today for this presentation. So we can look at that specifically on a sort of town or postcode basis. But that's something that's available to us on the agency side, and it's a third-party piece of software, so it's not sort of widely available to everyone. But that is something that we can look into. Another one on there was from Kevin around using Google Ads and how do you stop budget being taken up by clickers who are potential new customers. You will probably, you may find that you do have some budget initially that will be taken by people who aren't necessarily ready to buy your services. But what I actually tend to find is this is a big worry for most advertisers, that competitors are using their budget, but actually we don't tend to see that from the accounts that we've run on Google Ads. It tends to be more of a worry than an actual reality. However, you can do, if you're finding competitors are doing that and it is affecting your business, I think someone else wrote in the chat they were having competitors ring them up from the ads, you can negate competitor IP addresses. So if you can get the IP address of a specific funeral home that you know is a competitor, you can put that as a negative on the account level. And that, I would say, is probably the best way to try and go about doing that. If it's anything related to sort of funeral services, the other way you can try and stop that from happening is to add negative keywords. So things around, it might be like funeral flowers. What you should have in your Google Ads account is an account level list of negative keywords, which are things that you never actually want to show your ad for. So it will be things like flowers, I don't know, it might be tombstones or any other, or bearers, anything that's, yes, it's relevant to your business, but we don't want to pay for an ad and get someone kind of wasting your money on those things. So negative keywords is always a really good way to do that. There was a comment from Nigel about the cost per click for anything with the word funeral being very expensive. Yes, it does. It's not the cheapest cost per click in the world. You're probably looking somewhere around sort of like the £2 to £3 mark for a click on an ad. That is going to vary massively depending on where you are based throughout the UK. So if you're close to a city like London, there's going to be a lot of competition. Your cost per click is probably going to be more expensive than someone who's, I don't know, maybe in Devon or somewhere else where there's not that sort of higher concentration of people. So what we tend to do is when we have, if anyone is interested in one of those strategy calls, we go away and have a look at the competition specifically for your local area. And there's a tool on Google called the Keyword Planner, where we can put in a location and it will tell us what is the sort of range of the cost per click for your area. So that's always a good place to start to give you an idea of how much it might cost. So yeah, hopefully that answers that one.
Also, just to add on to that, Jen, sorry to interrupt there, but the CPC, the cost per click, is one particular thing to look at. But the most important thing is, well, I'm spending this. What am I getting back as revenue to the business? Because, like Jen said, you know, we're here as a business to make money, or whatever your particular goal is, but it's about having a good return on that investment. So whether the cost per click, for example, like for lawyers, the cost per click can be £20, £30, and sometimes upwards. But it's about bringing that return back to the business in multiplying terms.
Definitely, couldn't agree more. Okay, so someone else, Mark asked, what is a good click-through rate? Probably not a very helpful answer, but it's probably going to be dependent on the types of campaigns that you're running. So if you're running brand campaigns, you're going to see a much higher click-through rate than if you run a generic campaign. So by brand, I mean running on keywords that have your business name within the keyword. So for us, it would be bidding on the term YBA PPC. And a generic keyword is something which doesn't mention your business name. So that's going to be like funeral director near me. I mean, what we've seen on some of our clients, so just having a quick look, I would say on generics, a click-through rate of around sort of 6% would be good and would be like a well-optimized campaign. On brand, it might be sort of 30, 40, even 50%. But it is going to vary depending on what keywords you're bidding on, how much competition there is in your area, what keyword match types you're using. If you're bidding on broad match terms, that click-through rate is likely to be much lower. So it's hard to say without sort of looking at your account what a good or a bad click-through rate is, but hopefully that gives you some context there. One from Mark, is it best to set geography to those in the area or to those searching for the area? So I'm assuming this is related to the Google location settings. So you can either set your location settings to people in your area or to people interested in your area. You might want to have, well, we'd always say the Google recommended setting is not the one you should go for. You should go for the other one, which is people in your local area, because you just want to try and focus on that. You might want to have a mix of campaigns. So what we've seen work well for some of our clients is to have one campaign that is kind of broader general keywords. So that might be things like funeral director near me. And on that campaign, you want really specific location targeting. So just really grouped around your local area. Then if you've got keywords that have your location in them, so if someone is searching for example, like funeral director in Harpenden, you can target a wider area because you know they are actually looking for a service in that specific area. So that person doesn't necessarily need to be there. So it's probably a mix of both. It's going to depend how much budget you have as to how many campaigns you can set up and how wide you can go with your targeting. But you only really want to go looking at people outside of your service area if the keyword has the location in it, because you still want to know they're searching for someone around where you are.
Grace has asked a question about specific landing pages. So whether you should use a landing page with conversion optimization in mind or whether you direct them to the website, it very much depends on the performance of your website. So if you've got a high conversion rate and you've got a good performing website, then potentially you could send the traffic there. The principle being, we want to send them to a page so they know they're in the right place. So for example, if somebody typed in funerals Harpenden, ideally we want to get to a page that has funerals Harpenden on it, so they know they're in the right place, and then it's guiding them to the next step, which could be a phone call, could be for somebody to fill out a form. But the main thing is to get that empathy across, to get the key elements of how you can help them at that moment. So if your website delivers on that, then fine, send them to the website. But as long as it has a clear call to action of what you want somebody to do, you know, the next step along that path, then that's good. It's having the right tool for the job.
Perfect. Sorry, just filtering through. So Nyana asked, are single keyword ad groups still relevant? I would say less so nowadays. So for anyone who has run PPC for a long time, talking probably like 10 years, it used to be recommended to run single keyword ad groups. And the reason for that was to basically keep an eye on sort of one very key term for your business. It's not really the optimal way to run Google ads anymore. And that's just because the settings in Google have changed a lot. So now Google is able to, when I talked about all those 5 steps happening in less than a second, Google is now able to change bids for every single auction for every single user. So they now recommend to combine more keywords under one ad group. So your keywords are set into themes. So you might have an ad group that is like for direct cremation versus an ad group that is for burial, for example. Unless you're seeing there's one specific term which is getting all of the traffic and is working really, really well at driving phone calls, in that scenario, you might want to split that out separately. But otherwise, there is less of a need to do that now.
Anthony Barton has asked about Yell. So spending between £600 and £1,000 per month with Yell and not really seeing the results from what I can see. So you can see that they're at the top page of Google, but getting nothing from it. The trouble with Yell is that it's very difficult to see the actual results. They send you a monthly report, but it doesn't give you the insights and the knowledge. So with Google Ads, you should be able to, or this is what we do for our clients, is be able to say, okay, you've spent £1,000, and what we track is the number of phone calls that come in off the back of somebody clicking on your ad or filling out the form or whatever you have on your website. Maybe you have live chat. So we actively track those steps to say you've spent £1,000, you've had 28 phone calls, you've had 14 people fill out the form, whatever the numbers are. So you have complete visibility. That's for you as a client and to know what's happened. But from our perspective, it means that we can deep dive into the account and say, okay, this is where the action is happening. This is where it's working. Let's spend more money there. Roll back on these other bits that aren't working. So the downside to Yell is you don't have that visibility, not only on the reporting, but on the outcomes for your business. So hopefully that goes some way to answer that question. And do you work with DuckDuck and Bing? Bing, yes. DuckDuck, no. So Bing is usually about sort of 10 to 15% now of what you can spend in Google. So it's a visibility, and it is really good in your particular industry where sometimes computers are locked down to Bing, or somebody buys a computer and isn't quite sure how to change the search browser. So advertising on Bing can be helpful, but it's only a very small proportion of your spend.
I just want to shout out Edward in the chat, who's put, you need the ads to link to a specific page that supports the ad. So for example, if the ad is about personalized service, the page it links to needs to talk about personalized service, have a clear call to action, so the user is encouraged to get in contact, and then you can convert the inquiry. So that's exactly right. That's exactly what we'd recommend. So everything needs to flow through well. So from that ad all the way through to your website. And again, it's about making it really, giving potential customers a really clear way to get in contact with you. So on that page, you need to have the phone number really clear. You need to make it really obvious the next step that you want them to take to get in touch with you. And that will help with your conversion rates on Google Ads. There's one from Mark. Do negative keywords help avoid appearing in competitor searches? So yes, they can. So if you wanted to not show against any of your local competitors, you could add a list of your local competitors as negative keywords on the back end of Google Ads. And that should ensure that you don't show if someone is searching for a competitor rather than yourself. And then Kevin asks, should you put your own funeral home name as a negative keyword, as people will find your website without clicking on your paid Google ad? So I would say for this one, it's probably something to test. So the logic that you've got there, Kevin, makes sense. Like, people will be able to find you if they know who you are. However, you may find that people are searching in your local area for your business, but actually, if there's competitors appearing on Google Ads in the same auctions, they might be able to appear above you, and then a potential customer might go to a competitor instead of to you. So what we normally suggest is, if you haven't run Google Ads before, we'd start with running a brand ad alongside a generic ad. And again, within the platform, there is something called auction insights, where you can actually see for that brand term, so your business name, who else is eligible to appear when someone types in your name. And that can give us an idea of if there's much competition. So if you do that and you find actually there's no competition, then yes, you can probably turn off your brand ads and focus on the generic stuff. If you find there's actually a lot of competition there, it may be that you want to show an ad in order to make sure that you do reach someone if they are searching for you. So there's probably no right or wrong answer on that. It's probably a case of testing, looking at the data and seeing what's right for your business.
There's so much in it. In terms of the high conversion rate, well, it depends on what you are tracking as your conversion point, would be one thing. But in terms of a good conversion rate, you'd be looking at sort of 10%, something like that. If you're getting up towards 20%, you're smashing it. You're doing really, really well. So I would, Dee, do you know what sort of conversion rate you're seeing in your campaigns at the moment? No. Okay. Not a great conversion rate then, just yet. Well, I think we've covered all the questions. So I'll just pop the link back in there, should you want that link for Jen's diary, and hand back over to Declan.
Super. Thank you very much, Laura and Jen. That was absolutely fantastic. I am sure there will be more questions as people think about the presentation today. One of the things I would like to reflect upon that's really important is that independent funeral directors do something really well, and that is retain business. Once you've served the family will come back to you. So when the question came up earlier on about the cost of a click, it's incredibly cheap compared to, you know, the amount of work you might be able to do in the community or elsewhere. It's also incredibly cheap for a competitor to take that family away. And we've been running pay-per-click ads now for 8 years in Glasgow, and they've been incredibly successful in terms of knowing that it does pay for itself, certainly immediately it does, but certainly down the line as well, because what we do know is the care and attention that independent funeral directors give, you'll retain that business and keep it moving forward. So I wouldn't recommend it unless I've used it myself, and we have done for a long time. It's definitely very effective. And Laura and Jen, thank you so much again. You're both in the SAIF Digital group on Facebook now, which is fantastic. So if anyone has any questions, please go there and post them up, and they'll be shared with Laura and Jen. Guys, thank you very much. And to the members, thank you once again.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.